thee. For hate's sake, I spit my last breath at thee.
It's me, Tug.
That's right. Now, Tug who?
Tug who? I don't know. Who are you?
Me? I know who I am. I'm a dude playing a dude disguised as another dude.
The time has come. Execute Order 66.
Dr. Banner. Now might be a really good time for you to get angry.
That's my secret, Captain. I'm always angry.
In brightest day, in blackest night, no evil shall escape my sight. Let those who worship evil's might beware my power. Green Lantern's light!
It's the Josh Zodiac Podcast. On this episode of the Josh Zodiac Podcast, I'll be talking about my failed attempt to make a Robin Williams tribute episode. I fucked up. I didn't hit record again. Also, my weekend trip to Lawton, Oklahoma, and the endeavors that I had on this particular trip. And finally, a big announcement for a potential, or now not potentially, new job announcement. You don't want to miss this episode. There's a lot to talk about. This is the Josh Zodiac Podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the greatest podcast you've never heard of. That is, of course, the Josh Zodiac Podcast, a podcast about wrestling, pop culture, movies, music, and whatever the fuck I want to talk about. It's my fucking show. This is the podcast that thinks and believes that if you are a Dallas Cowboy fan and you've been saying, this is our year, every year for the past 30 years, you are the reason why they fucking hate us. Sorry, football season is a couple weeks away, and I just get annoyed with all these Cowboy fans every fucking year. Just fucking watch the game and shut the fuck up. Unless you're an Eagles fan, then go fuck yourself. All right, a couple of things we're going to talk about today. First on the list, and, you know, as normal, to quote the great Harry Potter,
I solemnly swear that I'm up to no good.
True words have never been spoken. Earlier in the week, I was going to make a tribute episode for the late, great Mr. Robin Williams, who passed away, I believe, on the 10th of August of 2014. I had the whole episode. I had everything written out, was talking about it, and my fucking friend Steve, Video Live with the diehards, had to remind me to hit record, which I did, you know, because I'm not recording it through Restream. I'm doing it through my mixer. But I literally got through 45 minutes of this episode. I'm talking, I'm doing sound clips and everything. And then I looked over at my mixer and the record light wasn't flashing. And I went, motherfucker, I forgot to hit the record button. So I was like, fuck. Oh, all of that talking wasted, and I wasn't going to go back and do it again. So I think I put something on Facebook or social media. I don't remember. But yeah, again, I'm still learning all of this podcasting. I'm still a rookie. You know, I'm nowhere near where Scuba or Ben are, but I'm getting there. Just got to remember to hit the fucking record button. Now, that being said, there will be some changes coming to the podcast. With that being said, transition. Yeah, that was a quick little talk about Robin Williams. I initially was going to talk about my weekend trip, but instead, I put this on my personal Facebook page. And I've known about this for a little while. I just hadn't made it official yet. But I have the job that I currently have here in Altus at the Air Force Base is a temporary gig. It was a 1-year contract gig. I knew that going in. Unlike the gig I had in Alaska, they didn't tell me that it was a term, which kind of pissed me off a little bit. But it is what it is. But when I got here, I knew that my goal when I got here was to get as much experience forecasting in the weather field as I could to make me more valuable to get me another job. And a couple jobs came and went, interviews. Nobody would hire me after I got here. And then there was one position that they were like, we'll take you. And it was at Fort Cavazos, formerly known as Fort Hood. Just had to do all the paperwork. And then for whatever reason, they retracted because I had the job. It was mine. I had already did the firm letter. I was waiting for a report date. And then for whatever reason, they were like, no, we're taking it back. And they are, to this day, are still looking for someone to fill that spot. I would have gladly taken that spot if they would have let me have it. Maybe down the road. But there was a couple other positions that I applied for. One of them was at Fort Sill, which is an hour east of here. Same thing, but the job requirement was more mission than actual aviation, which I'm okay with, but I wouldn't be learning anything. I wouldn't be expanding my my knowledge of how to forecast. And then the other position I applied for was in Mountain Home, Idaho. Mountain Home Air Force Base, obviously in Idaho. And that particular one, they wanted somebody to just fill the aviation forecasting side. That's all I do is do the forecast, Met watch meaning I'm watching the weather, making sure there's no warnings, watches, or advisories to be put out. God forbid there be a thunderstorm or a snowstorm or something like that. So those two particular jobs I applied for and was just kind of waiting. And both of them I got the, we want to hire you. We need to do some more steps. And that being said, that included a secret clearance. Just fine. It is what it is. No, I've had a clearance before. This shouldn't be a problem. I didn't have the interview until last week for both of the fucking security clearances. The difference being is that the Mountain Home position, they sign what's called a security waiver, which means we'll deal with it when he gets here. And we'll just deal with it when he gets here. No big deal. Fort Sill was like, no, fuck that. We want him to have the clearance before he gets here. So automatically that's one strike against Fort Sill. But maybe a couple weeks ago, I got the firm letter from Mountain Home saying, we want you to come here. This is what we're offering. You have 2 days to accept it. And it's funny because when I was applying for these different jobs, Mountain Home, Idaho was number 3. Like it was the last choice I had. It's like, I'll go there as a last resort. It's funny how fate works because now it's the number 1 choice because the Fort Cavazos one was like, don't think so. Fort Sill, it could take anywhere from a month to 3 months for that clearance to clear. So, and when I did the interview with the lady, she just had some questions about some of the stuff on the background check that I did. I won't get any specifics, but she did tell me that there are people that had a bunch of red on their ledger that still got clearances. I was a little worried about that. Not that I should be, but I was. That's just, my luck. I wouldn't get it. But she's like, no, there are people that have felonies that have them. And the difference is if you're honest with people about it, they kind of look the other way. If you're a good person, well, I like to think I am. I mean, I'm sure there are some haters out there that don't think so. And, oh, well, that's their opinion and I don't care. Yeah, just waiting for that clearance to pop up. But I made a decision to cancel the job offer from Fort Sill. And the report date for Mountain Home, Idaho is the 23rd of September. I made it Facebook official this week. I have now less than 5 weeks to start planning. And I've been kind of planning ahead just in case. So, kind of looking around at, think of what I'm going to do when I get up there. Instead of finding just an apartment for myself, I'm going to get a room to rent, save some money up for maybe 6 months, and then finally get my own place. That way I can save up for furniture and all that good stuff. I'm really not really worried about that. And the cool thing about the Mountain Home position, because I'll be living in Boise, which is an hour away, but there's like some sort of commuter service they have where I guess you pay a couple bucks a month and they commute you from Boise to Mountain Home, which is like 45 minutes to an hour away. So you don't put wear and tear on your vehicle. You just pay a couple bucks, almost like an Uber, but it's a bunch of people that live in Boise that travel and work in Mountain Home. So that's definitely a plus in itself. But the stress of having to move again, and this time, instead of driving 9 hours, I'm driving 20. It's going to be 1,400 miles, which I've done that before when I used to drive from Corpus to LA and or San Diego when I was still in the Navy. So, but then again, I was a much younger man back then. So my plan is to make it at least a 2-day trip, maybe 3. And at the end of the day, what I want to do is get there that weekend. That way I can unpack, I can get settled, I can get what necessities I need for the new place that I'll be at. And then go in Monday morning, first thing, and start onboarding and get the ball rolling there. But they can't do anything with the commuting until I'm actually onboarded in, which is fine. I get that. I'll just have to drive a couple of days to and from, which I'm not really worried about that. But because of that, there's a couple of items here that I don't, not that I'm a tight ass, I just don't want to take stuff that's too big. I want to be able to fit everything at least in my vehicle. And if not, maybe tow something behind it, which I'm going to look into this week. I'm pretty sure there's a way I can put like a little camper thing on the back of the Honda. For those that don't know, I drive a 2013 Honda Accord. There is something in the back I can attach something to, but I want to go to U-Haul, get their opinion. I did see they can attach a, what the hell? Like a thing trucks have where they can tow stuff. They can actually attach it to the Honda. It's, watching the video, it's not very hard. They can do it there at the U-Haul. It's like $130 for the part. And I'm pretty sure they'll charge me for labor, so it'll be a hell of a lot cheaper than having to fucking rent a truck that's $1,300 that'll have way too much room and it'll be a waste of money. And then getting a hold of movers is even worse because they charge a whole ton of money. And I'm like, you know what? I'll just sell the big shit or just give it away if I have to. I've already sold my couch. My couch was gone within a week, which was impressed me. Yeah, that's what's going on with that. I mean, I know some people, I don't put my personal stuff on the podcast page. I'll talk about it, but I won't put it on there because the podcast page is just for the podcast. And 9 times out of 10, I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about stuff in the world. Like, you know, we did the Transformers live stream last weekend, as a matter of fact. So I don't like to put my personal shit on that. That's what my personal Facebook is for. But that being said, I may end up putting my my Venmo and my CashApp on, because I do that for the podcast anyway, but I may put them on there if anybody wants to help out with the move, maybe pay for the gas, that kind of thing. You know, no worries if you do or don't. It's not gonna be a big deal. I'm already planning ahead, getting stuff. I've already taken all my posters down in the house. Now, tomorrow or Tuesday, I'll take down the pictures, start packing it. I want to get everything that's big packed up and ready to go super, super early. And I'm thinking about getting rid of the frames that I have my posters in and just rolling them up and putting them in a tube. That way, it eliminates so much room that I can have instead of having to put them. You know, I'll take the hit on the frames. I'm not really going to make a big deal about that. It's one of those things where it's more convenient to do it an easier way where you just put, I don't know, I have like a whole bunch of posters that I have that I could just easily put in a tube, wrap them up, and be done with them. The pictures will stay in the frames. Those I will not eat I will not eat that. But definitely will look more into that. And it really depends on if they can or can't attach something to the back of my Honda. If they can, then I may not have to worry about it. But if they can't, then I may have to look into it. But yeah, this is a little bit more stressful than the move from Corpus to here because now I'm moving from a current position to another one. And the cool thing about, I think I may have already said this, but the position in Idaho is permanent. It's not a temporary gig. It is permanent. It means that I'm getting the benefits. I can buy back my military time, which means I can use my time in the military and probably my time in Alaska as well. I have to look into that because I was there for a year and that was a term position. Look into that, and those years will count towards retirement. So instead of having to work a full 20, I can work 12 or 11 years and then retire and then work for another agency doing the same thing, whatever it is I want to do. So a lot of options out there, but I think this one I'm a little bit more nervous about because, granted, when I got here back in October, I didn't know anybody. I didn't know how they were going to react to me, and they've taken to me fairly well. Granted, people have come in, or people have left. We haven't got anybody new in since I've been here. We've lost 2 guys, and we lost a 3rd guy, but he's still on the base. He just works for a different department, so we've had some inner office positions switch around. Excuse me. But, yeah, it's just the way things are going. I think it's time for me to go to another spot. And I'm not going to have sour grapes about it because at the end, I was worried about looking for positions away from here that they would hate me for. And they're like, no, we encourage it because we know it's only a year gig. And they're already talking about looking forward without me when I'm not here. And they were looking at that before I got the position. So they were already planning on not letting me stay another year. So that's not that big of a deal. Just, I'd have wished they had told me. I'd have put a little bit more effort into it, but that's neither here or there. So, but yeah, I will be moving to Idaho, which, now that I think about it, no Whataburger. Probably don't have any decent Mexican food, but they do have a Cinemark theater, and that is a plus because I do love my Cinemark theaters. I did look up some spots in Idaho, in Boise, I should say. I've talked to people that are up there, and they're like, yeah, it's a great place. You know, there's a lot going on. It doesn't snow here as much as you would think. It does get cold, which is fine. I can handle cold. I just don't like snow. So, but now I have to learn a different region of the country's weather patterns, including valley and orographic effect weather, which orographic weather, you guys won't get that reference. But it's pretty much just dealing with mountains, which is fine. I've dealt with hills and some mountains in L.A. and so, but they're definitely excited to have me on board. The captain up there is like, I'm super excited to have you here. I can't wait. And it's one of those things where out of 4 applicants, out of 5, I'm the one they picked. And I'm like, why? If these other people had experience, why would they pick me? And that's a question that I don't know if I wanted answered or not, because I don't know if I want the answer to that question. But I may ask it down the road, like, why did you pick me? Out of all the people you could have picked, why me? And I thought I bombed the interview. Apparently I did really well. I thought the interview lasted half an hour, and it was me and the then lieutenant. She got promoted in the process. So, yeah, moving to Idaho, no Whataburger, probably no Mexican food, but I'm continuing and further away from Texas, and that seems to be the consensus from the closest friends is that, dude, you're moving further away from Texas. I'm like, I know. And it's not by design. At the end of the day, I got to do what makes me happy. If I could do what I'm doing here back home in Corpus, I'd do it in a heartbeat. I've said that before, and I'll say it again. But until I have a degree in meteorology, that's not going to happen. Because they have meteorology positions open in Corpus. But you have to have that degree to work for the National Weather Service. If you're working for the military, they'll work with you. But working for the actual National Weather Service, nope, you got to have that degree. And that's kind of inspired me to attempt to go back to school. Mississippi State offers a meteorology, God, I can't say the word now, weather program to prevent myself from embarrassing myself again from not saying meteorology correctly. But yeah, they have a program. One of the guys at work is actually doing it now, even though he's already a forecaster. He's like, if I don't have a degree, they're not going to hire me. So he's going to school, and I'm like, that's fucking cool. And I found out that if you work for the government and you want to go to school, they offer tuition assistance, or TA, up to 75%. All you pay is the 25% for the class, and then whatever books you have. I'm like, I could literally do a class a semester, and I'd be okay. Because the thing that I'm least looking forward to when it comes to getting my meteorology degree is calculus, and there's 3 separate semesters of calculus, and I'm not looking forward to it. I can handle physics. To me, physics is going to be easy because I love science. I just fucking hate math. Always have, always will. So I definitely have a plan, a 5-year plan in place. Most people don't. I do, just because I've been talking to the captain about it lately, and he has a degree in meteorology, and he went in as an enlisted man. I don't even know why I'm telling this, but yeah, he went as an enlisted just to get the experience, then got his commission, and now he's probably going to retire as an officer from the military. He's already got his degree, so when he gets out, he's pretty much a shoo-in to work anywhere because he's got 20 years experience now. So I definitely want to do something similar to that, but just not an officer in the military. So anyway, enough about that. Let's do a little transition here. I tend to be a bit of a homebody, and I have been since I've been in. Let me rephrase that. I was a homebody when I first got here, and then when I started dating Allison back in, right after Thanksgiving, up until we broke up, right before Valentine's Day and my birthday, I would, every other weekend, I was either she was here or I was at her place, and she lives in Vernon, which is an hour away. So after that, I kind of just didn't really venture too far from Altus. Unless I was going home for leave or something, or I'm going to Abilene to visit family. But I kind of don't really go out and do anything. I kind of just stay at home, and I have my reasons for that. Most of the time it's just I don't have the money to do it. I don't want to deal with it. But when I found out that I was going to be selling the couch this weekend, I was like, well, shit. The nearest Navy Federal Bank from me is in Lawton, which is an hour away. I'm like, well, fuck. That means I got to go to Lawton to deposit the money. And I was talking about it at work on Friday, and they were like, dude, make a day out of it. Go hang out, have some fun, do something. And then my captain's like, hey, I got an idea. He's like, how much are you selling the couch for? And I told him I will not disclose that amount. And he goes, take a little bit of that money, put most of it in the bank, but take some of it out and go to one of the casinos and see if you can win some money. If you do, you do. You don't, you don't. I'm like, it's not a bad idea. Okay. So, yesterday morning, guy shows up to pick up the couch. And I want to point this out. He brought another guy to help him move the couch, and that dude was less than worthless. Like, he just stood around like, dude, you're making me do all the fucking work. I was getting a little annoyed because this dude was just kind of like trying to be a supervisor. I'm like, dude, I'm not the one selling. I'm not the one buying it. Y'all need to. Finally, I looked at the guy that was buying it. I said, he needs to help because, he's like, yeah, he's very, I'm like, no. And finally he helped out, and I was helping them Tetris this thing in the back of his small ass Nissan Frontier that he had, but they got it tied up. Excuse me. They got it out. And they're gone. I'm like, cool. Take a shower. At this point, it's like 9:30. So, and I had recently replaced the rotors on my vehicle because I was getting really bad brake pulsations in the steering wheel, which come to find that the rotors were warped. Replaced it. Everything is fine. Brakes are working great. But, I go to the local gas station here, which back home in Corpus, they have stripes here, but not the same. But the Hutch's offers free air for your vehicle tires. So I, aired up my tires real quick. Some of them were a little low, some of them weren't. No big deal. Head on out. First thing I do is I go to the bank, And I'm like, well, if I'm going to be at the bank, I might as well get a new debit card because my debit card expires in a couple of months. I'm already here. Might as well do it. And when I got there and I deposited the money, excuse me, the guy's like, well, you have two options. You can either A, you can get a card here today, but it'll be a new number, which means you'll have to update any recurring payments you already have on your account. I'm like, okay, that's not that big of a deal. He's like, or we can mail it to you. I'm like, I'd rather not. I'd rather have it now. That way I have it, peace of mind that it's here. And, put the money in the bank, put the other money that I was going to go to the casino with in my pocket, got my new card, threw it in my brand new iPhone MagSafe wallet in the back of my phone, which I'm getting used to. I'm not quite used to that. I'm used to having a wallet in my back pocket, and I feel naked without it. But I leave, and I'm like, well, I'm here. The haircut options in Altus are very limited. I'm like, well, I'm here. They have a Sports Clips. They already have my shit on file. So I make an appointment, and it was like an hour wait. I'm like, oh, fuck. All right, fine. So I'm going to kill some time. So not too far from the Sport Clips is a Target. I haven't been in a Target in a very... The last time that I went into a Target, I was still married. So 2005, 2006, maybe a little bit later. And the funny thing about that is that when I lived in San Diego, there was a Target maybe half a mile from our apartment. So we were in Target all the time. It's funny, the two stores that we were in the most, besides the grocery store, was Target and Circuit City back when they still existed. We were in there all the time. And we didn't always buy something. We were just seeing what was there because, we were in the high tech and we were all that good shit. And that was the thing to do back then. And it's funny because I know I talk a lot of shit about my ex-wife, Suzanne, and I poke fun at, everything. But when I walked in and I was walking around, for the first time in a very long time, I was like, huh, I missed her. And I know it sounds weird, all the dumb shit that we both did to each other. I won't put any blame on anybody. We both fucked up. It took me a while to realize that I made mistakes. I don't know where her mindset is at. That's a whole nother podcast episode. But I'm walking around and I'm like, man, I used to, especially when I was in the toy aisle, used to, like I was like a little kid, like, can I get a toy? Just one. And I would buy like the little die-cast metal Star Wars vehicles. And I used to have the collection. I don't know where the fuck that is now. I think I may have lost it, which kind of upsets me because I had a lot. But no, I'm walking around Target and I'm just like, this is cool, but this would be so much cooler if she was here. And like I said, the first time in a very long time, I actually missed her not being there with me. And it kind of made me a little sad because that was our thing. Target was our thing. A funny story, the Christmas that we moved back to Corpus, it was around our Christmas time, obviously. We were walking into the store. No, we were walking out of the store. I take it back. We were leaving. We didn't really get anything. We didn't have Marianne with us. We had her dad watch her so we could go out and have some adult time. We went to lunch and all that stuff. And we were looking for presents for family and stuff like that. But we're walking out, and this lady almost hits my ex-wife, Suzanne, with a Suburban. And granted, the only time I've ever seen Suzanne angry at anybody was me. But then again, it was justified because, I tend to like to poke the bear just to see what would happen. And yeah, I was a bit of an ass. But I'm not going to make excuses, but I'm a better person now. And I wish that I hadn't been that way. I would kind of just, when you're a husband, you kind of poke at your wife a little bit, not really a bad way, just, kind of poke at her like, oh, shut the fuck up. But anyway, I digress. This lady almost hits her with a Suburban, and I turn around, and I see my Suzanne, and she's like, why don't you watch where the fuck you're going? And the chick in the car's like, man, fuck you fucking cunt. She called her a cunt. And I'm like, oh, shit. And I know how much that word sets her off, because I called her that one time, and instantly regretted it. But my ex-wife's like, what the fuck you call me? And she got super ghetto, super quick on this chick. And I'm like, okay, I need to get her. And by this time, this lady's husband was getting involved. I'm like, okay, neutral corners. Your wife did almost hit mine. Let's just call it even. Whatever. We're going away. And she's like, that fucking bitch almost hit me with her fucking car. I'm like, I know. Just learn to walk away, And I had gone through anger management a couple years prior, so I had learned how to repress that anger. Yeah, the anger comes out every now and again. It's not totally foolproof, but at that point, it was still kind of fresh. And it's just one of those things that later on we laughed about. We thought it was hilarious. But like I said, Target and Circuit City was our jam, that we went there all the time. And I ended up leaving Target with like 20 minutes left before before my appointment or whatever. I'm like, fuck it, I'm going to go early just in case the spot opens up. I go over there and the fucking place is packed. I'm like, oh, fuck. I'm glad I made the appointment because there was at least 10 people in there and half of them didn't have appointments. They were just sitting there chilling. So I'm like, well, fuck it, I'll wait. And finally, the girl comes up. Now, since I've been here, I've been letting my hair grow out a little bit longer. Not crazy, but just like Huey Lewis type of haircut. Or Harrison Ford would probably be a better example. Just a little bit longer all around. But I'm getting kind of tired of that because I'm like, it's just a pain in the butt to keep up with it. I'd rather just get it cut every couple of weeks and be done with it versus waiting every 2-3 months to get a haircut. So I told Aaliyah, I said, look, I've been growing it out. Let's just do a very low taper. And she did all that. And my favorite part of any haircut, especially when I go to Sport Clips, is when they take you to the back and you go to the champagne room. No, I'm just kidding. Not the champagne room. You go back to the shampoo room. You sit back. They do their thing. They wash your hair. They put the hot towel. But I've noticed that when I'm getting the shampoo, if the lady has somewhat of the fingernails and she's just massaging her scalp, it just puts me to sleep almost instantly. Just done. I'm just... And the lady's like, yeah, most of the guys that come in here, they tell me the same thing, that the shampoo is their favorite part. I'm like, yeah, because it's the most relaxing. Yeah, they give you a back massage with the vibrating gun or whatever the fuck you want to call it. But it is what it is. I would rather have them massage my scalp because that just is so super relaxing. Then after I'm talking to her about, she's like, well, I was telling her I was living in Altus and I was just here for the day and I was going to grab some grub and then head back. And because the options in Lawton are a lot more plentiful than they are in Altus. Altus has like 5 restaurants and half of them suck. And that includes the Whataburger because I love Whataburger. And she's like telling me, oh, well, there's Mexican food place here. There's this, and that. And then there's a Long John Silver. And I went, wait, what? A couple of days prior, there was a meme that I saw that my friend Shauna had posted. I think it was Shauna who posted it. And it said, there's a group of people in this world that are still keeping Long John Silver's alive. I had liked it. And then like 2 days later, a guy I went to junior high with, Albert, he posted the same meme. And I'm like, dude, this is just too fucking weird. So when this lady said Long John Silver, I was like, I'm going to Long John fucking Silver for lunch, period. And it was on the way to where I went to the casino that I was going to go to. I'm like, perfect. So I roll up and it looked just like the way I remember it. You had the entrance on the port side, if you're talking nautical terms, and you had the exit on the starboard side. So I walk in, I order my food. I got the platter, the 2 fish, 3 chicken platter, extra crumbs, because if you're going to go to Long John Silver, you got to get the extra crumbs. That's just the way it is. Got the crumbs, got a medium. I ordered a medium Pepsi. The medium was as big as a large anywhere else. I was like, fuck, I'd hate to see the fucking large. So I eat the food very slowly. And I look up at the counter. I'm about halfway done. I look up at the counter and I'd forgotten that they had hats. Much like Burger King has the crowns, they had the pirate hats. And I went, oh no, I have to get one before I leave. And I did. I walked up and I grabbed one and some dude looked at me kind of funny. I'm like, what? I'm a fucking big kid. What the fuck are you going to do about it? And he kind of got a chuckle out of it. Refilled my drink. When I walk out, they had a bell that you could ring. And because I'm a Navy guy, I, did the whole ding, 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 and then walked out, and people kind of chuckle out of that. Took a picture of me wearing the hat. It's on my personal Facebook, and people were like, dude, really? I'm like, hey, fuck you. You know what? This is we used to go to, there was a Long John Silver's not too far from the house growing up. So, yeah. We'd been there a couple of times, and we got in the hats. So, the hats are definitely a part of my childhood. I may be 48, but I'm still a kid at heart. So, I finally go to the casino. I looked up online what games they had, because I'm a big Texas Hold'em guy. And, of course, they had roulette. I'm like, ugh, never been good at that. They had blackjack, and I'm like, ugh, I'm not good at that either. Although, looking back, I probably should have played blackjack. I probably would have lasted a little bit longer. But they had what's called ultimate poker. What that means is that you have to beat the dealer, and that's it. The dealer gets their 5 cards. Or, I'm sorry, the 5 community cards come out, and then the dealer gets their cards, and then everybody at the table gets their 2 cards, and you make your bets accordingly. You have an ante, your bet, and then there's like another 50-cent ante on top of that they take out every hand, which is fine. And the way it works is that before the flop, if you know how to play poker, before the flop, you can bet up to 4 times what your initial bet is. After the flop, it's up to 2 times, and then after the river, it's just 1 time. So if you have a $5 bet, you can bet up to 20, and so on and so forth. So, and there was a gentleman sitting to my left. He was there by himself with the dealer, and he wasn't, from what he was telling me, he wasn't doing very good. He's like, dude, I've already lost $200. I'm like, ooh, God. How long did that take you to lose it? Oh, about 20 minutes. I'm like, fuck. And I was watching him play, and he was betting $20 every hand, and he was just losing. I'm like, I need to warm up, because my amount of money that I had was very limited. So I'm like, fuck this. I'm not trying to lose my shit in 20 minutes. So I'm doing just $5 bets. Unless I had a good hand. If I had like an ace king or suited connectors, something that could get me, a payout, I'll play it. And I lasted 2 hours, which was longer than I thought. And we went through 2 dealers, because they switch out dealers after a while. Well, yeah, I was there for 2 hours. I had told myself if I get below $100, then I will probably leave. But I was back and forth for a long time, and I had the $100 chips sitting here to my side. And I said, you know what? Fuck this. This is what I'm going to do. When I'm down to the last little bit, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bet the entire $100 on the hand and see what happens. So I did exactly that. I was down to $102. I'm like, well, fuck. I'll put the $2 aside because I can't use that. So I bet, the ante, the bet, and then they have what's called trips, where you can bet if you get trips or more, you pay out whatever it is you get. And then when the cards came out, I put my 25 on there, and the flop comes out, and it's all face cards for the most part, a couple of clubs. I was 1 club away from a straight flush. I was pissed because that would have been a huge payout. I would have made at least $500 on that hand alone. So when that happened, I'm like, okay, I gave the dealer the rest of the money that I had. I had the $2. I'm like, yeah, it's not much of a tip, but I'd rather do that than give it. I can't give it to another player. It's not allowed. So here you go. Have a nice day. And then I came home. I drove back. My intent was to go get a Papa John's pizza and take it home because we don't have Papa John's here. But I was still full from Long John Silver's. I'm like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm just going to go home, and I'm going to veg out, and I'll meal prep later on that night. Now, I was only gone for a couple of hours, but I had a lot of fun. And that's because I did stuff that I needed to do. I needed a haircut. I needed to go to the bank. I needed to grab lunch. The casino was more of a have fun type of thing. So that being said, I think when I go to Boise, I'm going to be more social. Now, granted, I don't know anybody here except for the guys I work with, and they have their own shit going on. So, I'm not, and half of them are married. So I'm like, well, I'm not trying to be the third wheel or the fifth wheel. So I just kind of stick to myself. And that's fine. It doesn't bother me. I can do stuff here at home. I do the podcast. I'll binge a show, whatever. So I think when I get to Boise, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be more social. I'm going to go out and do more things. Again, they'll have an actual movie theater. The one here, you got to get there early to get a good seat. I'm not a fan of that. I didn't like it back in the day. I prefer assigned seating. So the fact that they have a Cinemark also means I can get their movie pass thing they have where you get a free movie every month. You pay so much money and you get money back from your concession. And those tickets can add up. So if I don't go to the movies for 3 months, I got 3 tickets waiting for me. And you get discounts on online purchases and stuff like that. There's a whole spiel about it. But I just think that going forward, and Boise is a fairly decent sized town. I'm pretty sure WWE Raw or SmackDown will go, which means I will probably go to a show, depending if and when they show up. I'm pretty sure they have a comedy, like a stand-up comedy spot, which I will probably go to because I love stand-up comedy. It's not too far away from my family in Seattle, which I can go visit them. And the USS Nimitz is home ported in that same area. And they're going to decom it next year. So this gives me a chance to drive for a weekend or a long weekend and do a tour. Because now I'm a government employee. I have access to get on the base. Before I didn't have that. Now I do. So I definitely have plans in place. Definitely want to be more social. My end game here is to work. What I want to do is work there for a couple of years, get as much experience and knowledge as I can, and then start applying for other positions elsewhere. I kind of want to treat it like the military where I can move around. It sucks to move, but at the same time, I'll have more time to save up for something like that. I could get a bigger truck and all this other stuff. So some of the stuff on my bucket list of places I want to go, definitely the East Coast somewhere. I did apply for a couple of jobs in, North Carolina, but to no avail. I didn't get them, which is fine. Definitely want to avoid Florida, especially hurricane season. Fuck that. Nah, I don't want to be a weather forecaster during hurricane season down there. It's just not going to be fun. Maybe San Diego. I don't know. That's a whole other story. I used to have so much drive to want to go back there, and I do. It's probably the one city that I've been to and lived in that I miss the most, other than home. It's the one city that I get homesick for. But lately, the wind has been sucked out of the wind has been sucked out of my sails about that. But that's another episode. There's a lot of different spots, especially with Air Force bases, and they're all over the fucking place. So. Hell, you never know. I might apply for a position at Guam or Hawaii. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But for the time being, I do have a plan in place for the mountain home position. Just going to take it one day at a time and see what happens. I'm excited. I'm nervous. Again, I'm doing this all by myself. I'm pretty sure there are people that on Facebook that are like, just being haters, and that's fine. Be haters. That's fine. I don't care. At the end of the day, I'm doing what makes me happy. I'm doing the job that I want to do. And you know what? Whatever makes me happy. Yeah. Exactly. So, with that being said, I think I will conclude this episode. This is more like therapy than a podcast for me sometimes. So, I will conclude this particular episode of the Josh Zodiac podcast. There will be some changes coming. The episodes won't be as frequent, coming up to the end of September. And once I get set up and established, I will continue the podcast up there. But there are going to be some changes coming to the podcast. I made a new intro. And by intro, I mean a video intro for the YouTube page. And I have a new logo that I want to unveil it now, but I kind of don't. I want it to be a surprise down the road. But either way, like I said, changes are coming. Good changes. I'm happy. I'm looking forward to what the future holds. But I do want to join me. I do want to thank you for listening to me rant and rave. And again, I don't do notes when I do my podcast. I'll have like a topic written down somewhere, but I don't have a script. I just pretty much just talk off the top of my head. So that's why I tend to ramble. I will say I do want to do more of the video live streaming with Scuba and Ben. People tend to have liked that episode where we talked over Transformers the movie. I have a couple of movie ideas I want to run by them to see if we could do one or two of them before I roll out. But that's neither here nor there. I'll have announcements about that later on. But if you liked what you heard today, you can like, search, and follow the podcast on TikTok and Facebook, mainly just for memes, videos, news, and just stupid shit. Just search up the Josh Zodiac Podcast, again, on TikTok and Facebook. You can also follow me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Josh Zodiac Pod. Again, those character limitations are a pain in the butt. For the audio version of this podcast, you can search, like, subscribe, and follow the Josh Zodiac Podcast on Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and Apple Podcasts. And again, that's for the audio version. For the video portion of the podcast, like, subscribe, search, and follow the Josh Zodiac on YouTube. Now, granted, with YouTube, there won't be video of this podcast, but it will still, I have to format it in a video form for it to go up on YouTube. So the audio will still be up on YouTube up until I start doing video again. If you have a topic you want to hear on the show, or you have a question, or you just want to shoot me a, hey, love what you're doing, and you can just drop me a line. My email for the show is thejoshzodiacpodcast@gmail.com. And I didn't mention this before, but also on Spotify, Amazon, iHeart, and Apple. If you could rate and just give me an idea of how I'm doing, I will. It is greatly appreciated, and I will take every suggestion into consideration. Excuse me. And also, if you want to support the podcast, or if you want to help out with the move, I'm not saying you have to, but you can. I'm not going to say no. You could maybe pay for a meal that I have on the way up to Boise, or maybe help pay for some of the gas. You can donate the money to my Cash App, which is $Josh Zodiac. And I also have a Venmo account at Josh Zodiac. It is appreciated if you do, and I will give you a shout out on the show, not live because I obviously don't do live, but I definitely will give you a shout out on the show. That's Scout's honor. So again, I want to thank you for joining me on this solo trip down memory lane over the weekend and the week for myself, and then the big announcement that I've been kind of sitting on for a while. But I do want to thank you for joining me. I am the Josh Zodiac. This is the Josh Zodiac Podcast. I want to thank you for joining me, and we'll see you next time. Make it so.